Believe it in. The objective reality of this world is solely produced by the human imagination, in which all things exist. Tonight I hope to show you how to subjectively appropriate that which you already exists in you and turn it into an objective fact. Your life is nothing more than the outpicturing of your imaginal activity, for your imagination fulfills itself in what your life becomes. The last year that Robert Frost was with us, he was interviewed by Life magazine and said, "Our founding fathers did not believe in the future. They believed it in." This is true. Having broken with England, our founding fathers could have established their own royalty here by making one of them the king, thereby perpetuating the royal family. They could have chosen a form of dictatorship, but they agreed to imagine a form of government that had not been tried since the days of the Greeks. Democracy is the most difficult form of government in the world, yet our founding fathers agreed to believe it in. They knew it would take place because they knew the power of belief, the power I hope to show you that you are tonight. To say, "I am going to be rich," will not make it happen. You must believe riches in by claiming within yourself, "I am rich." You must believe in the present tense, because the active, creative power that you are is God. He is your awareness, and God alone acts and is. His name forever and ever is, "I am." Therefore, he can't say, "I will be rich," or "I was rich," but "I am rich." Claim what you want to be aware of here and now, and although your reasonable mind denies it and your senses deny it, if you will assume it with feeling, your inward activity, established and perpetuated, will objectify itself in the outside world, which is nothing more than your imaginal activity objectified. To attempt to change the circumstance of your life before you change its imaginal activity is to labor in vain. This I know from experience. I had a friend who hated Roosevelt, yet wanted him to change. Every morning while shaving, my friend would tell Roosevelt off. He found great joy and satisfaction in his daily routine, yet could not understand why Roosevelt stayed the same. But I tell you, if you want someone to change, you must change your imaginal activity, for it is the one and only cause of your life. And you can believe anything if you will not accept the facts your sense dictates, for nothing is impossible to imagine, and imagining, persisted in and believed, will create its own reality. Now, all things exist in God, and He exists in you, and you exist in Him. Your eternal body is the human imagination, and that is God Himself. Your imagination is an actual body in which everything is contained. When you imagine, the thing itself comes out of that divine body, Jehovah. The story of Jesus is a wonderful mystery that cannot be solved until you discover, from experience, that He is your own wonderful human imagination. We are told that God speaks to man in a dream and unveils Himself in a vision. Now, vision is a waking dream like this room, while a dream occurs while you are not fully awake. A few years ago, this vision was mine. I was taken in spirit into one of the early mansions on Fifth Avenue in New York City at the turn of the century. As I entered, I saw that 3 generations were present, and I heard the eldest man telling the others of their grandfather's secret. These are his words. Grandfather used to say while standing on an empty lot, "I remember when this was an empty lot." Then he would paint a word picture of what he wanted to build there. He saw it vividly in his mind's eye as he spoke, and in time it was established. He went through life in that manner, objectively realizing what he had first subjectively claimed. I tell you, everything in your outer world was first subjectively appropriated. I don't care what it is. Desire can be your empty lot where you may stand, remembering when you were not now have was only desire. If I now say, "I remember when I lectured at the Women's Club in Los Angeles," I am implying I am no longer there, and am where I want to be. Remembering when you were poor, I have taken you out of the poverty and placed you in comfort. I remember when you were sick, by taking you out of sickness and placing you in the state of health. I remember when you were unknown implies you are not known. By changing my memory image of you, I can now remember when you, with all your fame and fortunes, were unknown and broke. That was the secret of grandfather's success. This is what I learned in vision. Do not put this thought aside, because it came to me in vision. In the 12th chapter of the book of Numbers, it is said that God speaks to man through the medium of dreams, and makes Himself known through vision. If God makes Himself known to you through vision, and speaks to you in dreams, what is more important than to remember your dreams and visions? You can't compare the morning paper or any book you may read to your vision of the night. for that is an instruction from the depth of yourself. God in you speaks to you in a dream, as he did to me when he took me on a trip in time to that beautifully staffed mansion at the turn of the century. As spirit, I was invisible to those present, but I heard more distinctly than they, and comprehended the words more graphically than they, because they had their millions, and who is going to tell one who already has millions how to get them? I entered their environment to hear their story, in order to share it with those who will hear and believe my words and then try it. This doesn't mean that just because you heard my vision, you are going to enjoy wealth. You must apply what you heard and remember when. If you would say, I remember when I couldn't afford to spend $400 a month for rent, you are implying you can well afford it now. The words, I remember when it was a struggle to live on my monthly income, implies you have transcended that limitation. You can put yourself into any state by remembering when. You can remember when your friend expressed her desire to be married. By remembering when she was single, you are persuading yourself that your friend is no longer in that state, as you have moved her from one state to another. When I say all things exist in the human imagination, I mean infinite states. For everything possible for you to experience now exists in you as a state of which you are an operant power. Only you can make a state become alive. You must enter a state and animate it in order for it to outpicture itself in your world. You may then go back to sleep and think the objective fact is more real than its subjective state into which you had entered. But may I tell you, all states exist in the imagination. When a state is entered subjectively, it becomes objective in your vegetative world, where it will wax and wane and disappear, but its eternal form will remain forever and can be reanimated and brought back into being through the seed of contemplative thought. So I tell you, the most creative thing in you is to enter a state and believe it into being. Now, causation is the assemblage of mental states, which occurring creates that which the assemblage implies. Let us say that I have two friends who would empathize with me, not sympathize, if they heard my good news. I put them together and listen, all in my imagination, as they talk about me and what has happened in my life. Being true friends, I hear their words of joy and see their happiness reflected on their faces. Then I will allow myself to become visible to them and feel their handshakes and embrace, as I accept their congratulations as a fact. Now I have assembled a mental state, which occurring created that which the assemblage implied. Therefore I am its cause. As I walk, firmly believing in the reality of what I have done, and that imaginal act becomes a fact, I may question myself as to how it came about. Then, remembering my imaginal act, I would say, I did it. If I did it, then did not God do it? Yes, because God and I are one. I am. Are you going to continue to believe there is another on the outside, or are you going to believe the great confession of faith, which I would urge you to accept? It's the great Shema. Hear, O Israel, the Lord of God, the Lord is one. If the Lord is one, he can't be two. Therefore, if his name is I am, and you say I am, you must be one with the Lord who brought you the world into being. Listen to these words. By faith we understand that the world was created by the Word of God, so that things that are seen were made out of the things which do not appear. Here we see that the Word of God is an imaginal activity, which joined by faith created the world. And faith is nothing more than a subjective appropriation of an objective hope. Now when you discuss your desire with me, you cannot see my imaginal act relative to you. If you tell me you need a job and I accept that thought, when I think of you I remember your need. But if I changed your words and heard you tell me you loved your job, I could remember when you needed one, for now my memory bank contains the fact that you have a job you like very much. And when we meet again, you tell me that you have it. You are only bringing confirmation of my imaginal creative act. Now, if imagination works this way, and it proves itself in the testing time and time again, what does it matter what the world thinks? It costs you nothing to try, and what a change in life it will produce for you. Try it, for you will prove it in perfection.